really good to be here today. My name is Adebayo Adekola, and I'm the head of innovation, portfolios, and governance at UNICEF Office of Innovation, based in Stockholm, Sweden, one of the beautiful Scandinavian countries. But originally, I'm from another amazing country, Nigeria. So this afternoon, I will talk briefly about what we do in terms of innovation with UNICEF. Then we'll bring some practical element to it with my amazing panelists. I'm glad that it's very gender inclusive. I have 3 amazing women and of course another handsome young man, okay? So, all protocols duly observed. Let me say that before I start, all protocols duly observed. Today I know I'm representing UNICEF, UNICEF globally, UNICEF Ethiopia, but also before I start, I want to give a shout out to Depa, the Chief of Communications and Advocacy. She's seated at the back, and she made this possible. And so thank you so much, Depa, and our team, and our wonderful team here. I speak not only as a staff of UNICEF, but also as a father of 2 amazing, energetic boys. And so innovation is not just, doing work. It's also about, changing lives, touching lives, and making a difference in our community. It sounds cliche, but it's actually what we do every day. And for us at UNICEF, what does innovation really mean? In line with our strategic goals, we hope that we can drive a couple of points. Number 1 is to allow that every child survives and thrives. Ensures that every child is able to learn and have quality education. Every child is protected from violence, and every child is also, able to play and grow in clean and safe environment. But most importantly, they are able to live free from poverty. And of course, this is a daunting task, but we are making progress each day. In terms of our work in innovation, we work in over 190 countries, and in Africa, over 52 countries. And we work from health to water and sanitation, to child protection, to social policy, to basically empower women, girl child, children, adolescents, and the young people. And with us, one of our core principles is really looking at our local innovation, harnessing the young economy, driving digital transformation, and investing also in the future, of young people, most importantly in the well-being. Now, the Global Startup Awards is a big platform, and I believe that, as Joe would always say, it's one of the most unique platforms where African startups are, brought to the fore and they have actual visibility. And for us, it's investing in the innovation economy, but most importantly also in the digital ecosystem. What does this mean for us? It's basically promoting local innovation, investing in young innovators and startups, also using it as a platform to address the learning crisis. A number of children, millions, are not in school, and we can do a lot more to address that. The same with our health systems. And most importantly also is the digital divide. Like, we know that up to 9 out of 10 girls, don't have access to internet, don't have access to, digital capabilities. And that's why the work that we do in connecting schools to internet through GIGA, a joint initiative of UNICEF and ITU, helps to ensure that we make innovation possible and we bring it to reality. But most importantly also is UNICEF's Venture Fund, which, invests in early stage frontier tech. This work we do with our venture fund, going to over, 10 million US dollars. Also invest in close to, 43% of it is actually female-led and, female-owned. So we also pay attention to empowering women, empowering the girl child through the work that we do. And we basically focus on program countries and countries in Africa. I'll tell you the website so that you can learn more about it, okay? But quickly, let me go on to what we do and how we do innovation in UNICEF, and I will call it the 7 Ps. We start with the problem, we go on to our portfolios, we look at the products that we need, we look at partnerships, we look at our platforms, we look at the pipeline of our solutions, and we measure our progress. So 7 Ps. So if you don't remember anything from this presentation, remember the 7 Ps, okay? So most importantly, we start with what problems are we trying to solve as UNICEF. And we just don't walk alone, we walk within the ecosystem. Whether it is, addressing issues with adolescent girls, whether it is addressing issues with basic literacy, whether it's, making food available. One of the things we do is to start from the problem statements. And after we've thought about the problem statement, we look at what do we need to bring into our portfolios. And we actually have 9 portfolios, cuts across different areas, from humanitarian action to WASH, to learning, to gender equality, to climate change, to mental health. I must say that UNICEF is one of the agencies with a mental health innovation portfolio, as you know that this is a serious situation with adolescents. And from there, we begin to identify fit-for-purpose solutions, interventions, and products. We don't just look at digital solutions, we also look at products, we look at program innovation, social innovation. We look at, digital innovation. So it's not just, because a lot of times we talk so much about our digital innovation, but it's also important we think of social innovation, service innovation, and I will go more into details with the panelists as we go on. But I want to highlight one of the innovations here with UNICEF Ethiopia, which we call the egg powder. One of the things I would like you to leave here with is innovation doesn't have to be complex. It can be very simple, using what we have and what we use already. So the egg powder is basically a dietary supplement, that helps to provide proteinous meals for children. And, with the help of also the government, with the help of UNICEF, there is a lot of work going into making sure that this egg powder is made available to make sure that nutrition, is brought to the table, but most importantly, helping children to grow, to play, to thrive, in their environment. But one thing also to mention is that it's not just creating this innovation, it's also providing opportunities in terms of jobs, in terms of using our local goods, our local resources to create innovation. And this has a potential of reaching close to 1.2 million households with nutritious diets. Then following building products, we look at shared valued partnerships. One of the things we at UNICEF, we are not custodians of innovation. We also partner with a lot of people, and it takes a community to actually innovate. But importantly is also looking at platforms like the Global Startup Awards, to really identify solutions, to look at what is out there, what is new, what can we leverage, and I believe that that's a conversation we are also having with Joe and our team. And the 2 last points is basically about creating a pipeline of solutions. A lot of times we only look at single solutions, but for us we look at a set of solutions, curated solutions that can solve problems that are interconnected. And that is important to us. But most importantly is also using platforms like this to tell the stories of the work that we do. I'll just mention 2 other initiatives that we also carry out. We call it the Games Coalition, which basically is helping to put girls at the center of games. Many times it's boys usually dominate the gaming world, and it's sometimes very male-dominated. But we are also looking at innovation that helps to put girls at the center of this innovation. And the other initiative we also have is Innovation 30, which is trying to harness the potentials of young climate innovators. And that also is a big, major one that you can always, I'll share our website so that you can learn more about some of this work that we do. Looking ahead, before I call up my panelists, the key message to everyone, number 1 is put children at the center of your innovation. Put children, adolescents, young people, girl child at the center of your innovation. As you co-create, as you design, as you create your pilots, put children at the center. Remember to create a viable future for children, for the benefit of children in the work that you do. Also, learn to protect children, because as we talk about AI, machine learning, data science, it's important that we also protect children from the risk of these solutions. Also, let's build our local communities, because that's going to be very critical. Building local communities is very key, and it also helps innovation to thrive and to scale. We heard before the lunch break about Kubik, the work they are doing from plastic, waste, creating buildings from waste. I want you to realize that one innovation creates, other forms of innovation. So what you're doing now as a startup creates more innovation. But looking beyond all of this is also making sure that what we do is also, we look at our green solutions, because climate is not just bringing about issues of, protection of the child, but it's also bringing issues with health, issues with learning, and this for us is one of the things we are doing, particularly here in Ethiopia, and also helping to think of WASH innovation. Just to mention that we have two hubs. We have the Learning Hub in Finland, supported by the Finnish government, and also the WASH Hub supported by the Danish government. And this is basically to ensure that we can scale to low and middle income countries. Lastly, for innovators, please think about the needs, the rights, the protection, and the future of children, adolescents, and young people. For governments, it's basically to shape policies and investments to make innovation thrive. And for startups, think of the social good and safeguarding children. And thank you so much. For more about UNICEF's innovation, you can go on to our Twitter page at UNICEF Innovate, LinkedIn, UNICEF Innovation, to our website, unicef.org/innovation. So you can learn more about the work that we do. So I will stop there, and now I would call on the panelists so that we kind of bring some, practice to what we're talking about. And I would like to invite my panelists to please come on board, and they would introduce themselves, don't worry, okay? Let's give them a round of applause. We need some energy. Hello? Okay. You all can hear me, please. So, thank you so much again. What I'm going to do is to allow the panelists I have here to introduce themselves. I'm going to be dealing with 1-2 minutes of things so that we can speed it up. But I would allow, where should I start from? Okay, let me start from Catherine to introduce and just say a bit about herself, and then we move to Kidis, and then to Folakemi. I was telling someone that this is the name I can call well because I'm also Nigerian, okay? And also to Alma, right? Perfect. So over to you, Catherine.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you do.
I'm Catherine Williams. I'm co-founder and COO of NUSI Health. I'm also a professional nurse, and I've been in the industry for decades. NUSI Health has a vision to bring at-home healthcare into as many homes as possible, using tech to scale that, and using tech to support, firstly, professional nurses to bring skilled healthcare to homes, and then secondly, to build out an ecosystem of mobile health and access to face-to-face healthcare in the community, in the home, and in the family.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Okay, over to you, Kidis.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kidis. I'm the co-founder and CEO of 0101 Tech and Entrepreneurship. We basically work on consulting and training, and we focus on business skills, mainly focused on technology startups, employment skills, and in general on digital skills. And we work currently in Ethiopia, and we work in East African countries in general.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Falakemi.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Again, Falake Owodunni, co-founder and CEO of Emergency Response Africa. We save lives by providing emergency medical services. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now, Mawa, Coffee Resurrect.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alma Mola. Everybody, welcome to Addis. My name is Alma Mola. I'm the founder and CEO of Coffee Resurrect. We work on diverting coffee waste for food ingredients, nutritional dense coffee oil, flour, and fiber here in Africa and in Ethiopia as well.
So thank you so much. Please give them a round of applause, please. They're doing fantastic work, and I believe that they should be appreciated for that. So I'm going to be, the questions I have for you, I'm going to take different aspects of innovation, and I'm going to start with Falakemi, because we just heard from you about the work you do in emergency response, and basically it's about the service innovation. In the work that you're doing with emergency response and with the first responders and using digital solutions, what would you say has been the lessons learned so far, and what would enables you to actually scale those solutions beyond what it is right now? Mm-hmm. Some of the lessons from your side.
Yeah, thanks. That's a really good question. First of all, let me just say that I'm happy to be on a UNICEF panel, because I always like to show a picture of my son when pitching, because he certainly inspired the existence of the company, and I have x-rays of the child. He's had lots of emergencies, so I think there's a strong connection between kids and emergencies.
That's good.
But to your question about lessons learned, there's definitely been a lot of lessons learned. It's not an easy space in general. It's certainly not an easy space to innovate in as well. I think one of the biggest lessons is not realizing how much payment is a barrier to accessing emergency care, and literally seeing people make a choice between potentially life-saving treatment that is urgent and just counting their coins. And that's really pushed us, that's really pushed us in the direction of how do we separate payment from the need for emergency care, which has ushered in the partnerships with both the public and the private sector. That's one. I think the second one is just the healthcare sector in general. Whenever you're bringing technology, and I'm sure a lot of people that have innovated in healthcare can attest to this, technology is not the solution in itself, right? Like, technology is the enabler of the solution. And so even though we tend to spend a lot of time thinking about what should the technology look like, what should it do, how should we, how fancy should it look, those are actually, the easier parts of it. The harder part is the adoption. How do you make sure that whatever it is you're bringing is actually adding value to the people that you're expecting to use it? And for us, that's come both on the patient side as well as the provider side. Keeping in mind our model, we partner with hospitals, ambulance owners to pull all of their assets into one network. So we had to make sure that it was easy for them to work with us, easy for them to receive cases that we refer, easy for them to respond and report back. And on the patient side as well, the truth is we have a mobile app. It doesn't get much use compared to our toll-free line. And we kind of expected that going in based off of our research, and for multiple reasons we did that anyway. But looking back, maybe I would have gone with WhatsApp or something else, right? So just a few lessons.
Okay, but that's really good. I really like the point around adoption of of this innovation and thinking about that in the work that we do. But thanks a lot, Falake, for that. So I think I will go now to to Catherine. I really like the fact that during the COVID time, there was a lot of talk around telehealth, the use of telehealth. I remember a time when we had to take my son to the hospital, and instead of going there, the doctor said, I will send you a link, and then we will talk, via that. So I really want to, kind of learn also the same question that I posed to Falake about some of the lessons learned from scaling. What should startups be thinking about? And also, particularly the fact that you're dealing with nurses, and how has that been with encouraging girls, women, empowering women in that direction?
Sure. So COVID definitely catalyzed our ideation. we saw very real-world examples of even a collective of private nurses not having access to technology beyond a WhatsApp group, trying to share resources. Is there a nurse in this area? Where can we get oxygen? So that actually was a conversation that was had with our co-founders, saying there are practitioners, but this is not scalable. And so recognizing that nurses, 90% of whom are women globally, 92% in South Africa, are also at risk of being left behind through not having scalable technology solutions. And so we realized that if we did not empower the largest health profession in the world, 59% of health professionals are nurses, we were not going to realize the potential for reaching everybody with health services that needed them. And obviously, women tend to be the main caregivers in homes, and over 80% of decisions around healthcare are made by women for their families. They also bear the most heaviest weight in terms of providing direct care to their family members.
Should we give a clap for women, please?
Yeah.
She
So I think even UNICEF has pointed out the fact that when women are working, they have additional responsibilities to sit in a queue or to arrange their lives, to take family members, the elderly, their children, their teenagers themselves to health services. There's a mismatch there in their needs. And so it makes sense to have highly skilled, available, easily accessible practitioners who can come to communities. In fact, it's really interesting, in the early 20th century, nurses who were dissatisfied with low wages and were perplexed by the health problems, looking after people with end-stage health problems instead of prevention, started to take their services directly to communities. It was, in fact, the birth of Planned Parenthood, was a nurse who identified that women, especially working-class women, did not have access to family planning. So we actually are using tech to continue a tradition of nurses allying themselves with the community to access and to solve community-level problems. So yeah, scaling that, we believe that tech is at the point now where, exactly the same as my colleague there, the consumer who's accessing services and the provider giving services. And we've also learned some lessons using WhatsApp. So yeah, it's about not letting the complexity of the situation get in the way of providing as many services as you can, and figuring out what is needed, how to do it efficiently and extremely well.
I'm sure probably the next thinking is looking at generative AI to actually reach these people. But,
Yes.
but you know, I like the fact that this conversation is going towards the human needs innovation, and really thinking about the social good behind what we are trying to do, which is really important. Thank you so much, Katrin. Now I'm going to Coffee Resurrect, which is also, a different, you have this niche in the market that is not just talking about service alone, but also looking at improving the climate, improving health, also looking at our nutrition. So for you also, what has been the lessons learned in terms of scaling? And you can also, kind of tell us how it has been, doing that in Ethiopia and in the environs. And also tell us a bit about how entrepreneurship, the role of startups in innovation also. So just tell us some of the lessons from your side.
Yeah, well, at Coffee Resurrect, we believe in collaboration, working together, working a lot of stakeholders into it. So as we started this project, coffee is a big thing here in Ethiopia, so which means we are the biggest exporters, the fifth in the world. So there is a lot of coffee waste as well. So when we understand we can start exporting some kind of coffee, we can do that kind of business. When we're thinking, we try to impact the people, the community, the country as well. So what we research is, what we do is, for the first year, it's actually, I started this project as my master's thesis when I graduated from University of Milan as impact entrepreneur. So after that, it's going to grow. So what we do is just, what we try to sell the coffee, just the beans, what we try to create something new out of that. So we go to the coffee waste. The first thing we identify is just there are a lot of coffee waste going on as an exporter. So what's the niche areas over here? What's the most important thing over here? What we can do simply, we just go to the first things, to the industrial residues, which are the spent coffee grounds, the sliver skins, which are usually they are in the city, they are urban wastes. So we concentrate on that to do. If that's not, so what's going to be the impact on that? We just researched on that. So what we find out is this is the most organic pollutant ever. So we are impacting on the environments as well. If we see the other direction as well, the wastes are not just sent to landfills. They are not useful for the communities, for the farmers, and also the stakeholders. So we just create these products from the spent coffee ground. So we continue to other coffee wastes like sliver, to the pulps. So we just find out 3 products that are applicable into two kinds of market segmentations, which is they can applicable as personal care, as cosmetic as well. They can also applicable as a food ingredients, which are sustainably. Usually they are going to landfill, they are affecting the environment 6 times than the carbon, which is equivalent to 1 year CO2 emission is equal to 10 million cars, so it's a big thing. Methane is one of the greenhouse, the most dangerous methane emission is a big thing. So just to impact that, we just started that. Scaling up, we don't wanna stack on the personal care. On the personal care, we've been like one of the famous brands to be, the coffee would be one of the personal ingredient, sustainable ingredient award last year in Paris as well. We also won the Sustainable Beauty Award on the ingredient in the food and the personal care. So this is the biggest achievement we have. We have to focus to impact more on the farmers, on the communities. So as you all know, most of the crops like maize, wheats, not are found in this kind of coffee grown areas. They're also expensive. So we have to give back to the people what we owe. So what we create is to build these products as this flour and the coffee oil to use for the farmers to be more nutritious. As we all know, the women's and under 7 children are so malnourished, not only in Africa, it's also global level. So to impact on the society as well.
Yeah, I really like the point around, the partnerships, and also thinking of the value chain of what, you're doing. Because, from just getting, the coffee waste and finding ways in which it can be used beyond, just throwing it in landfills. I think it's a really good segue. And of course, you talk about personal beauty, so maybe I might need to get some of those products also before I leave. before I leave Ethiopia. Anyway, but thank you so much for that amazing work, and we hope to kind of read more about some of the things that.
Actually, one question you have also about the scaling up. There is that coffee is not growing only in Ethiopia. It's growing in Kenya. It's growing in South Africa. In different, not only on the agricultural waste, it's also on the urban waste. When you go to the big cities, there is a lot of coffee producing, a lot of waste. So that's the most advantage for us to expand more major cities in Africa and beyond. That's our scale.
And I hope that in coming years we'll see how you definitely would expand, and also at least other people can also learn from the amazing work, from Kubik making use of plastic waste to build houses. Maybe we'll talk about how this can also be expanded and moved on. Thank you so much for that. Now we're moving now to another aspect, because many times we talk about innovation, but innovation basically depends on people, talent, capacity. Where there is no capacity, then innovation is a tough one. So I'm going to move to Kidis to tell us about, building talent for innovation, particularly startups where you might not have, as much money to, have a lot of staff. Tell us some of the, lessons you've learned in how to harness talent, especially young talent, for innovation.
Okay, so when we first started 0101, it has a story behind it. Before I co-founded 0101, I used to work for this NGO called STEM Power, and when we were there, we were focused more on STEM education, which was a fertile ground for innovation. However, like, there were like the innovations were like, oh my God, this could change the world, but you showcase it and you give them some award and it's a media consumption, it's thrown away. It was not creating any value whatsoever. So when I was at that organization, I started a business Fab Lab publication lab program to help those innovators in two ways. One, what we call innovation. Yes, it is innovation, but it might be at a stage where it's just proof of concept. How can we refine it? How can we make sure that we can replicate and scale it? So we were providing different kind of technical and advisory support, but parallel to that, we started an entrepreneurship program where we try to train and coach on entrepreneurial mindset, entrepreneurial skill set, and financial literacy. So because that program was funded and we have to meet certain number of trainees, we had KPIs. For example, they had to have a business license. That was one of our KPIs, which was okay, but at the same time, like, everybody was focused on getting the KPIs, but the due diligence somehow was missing. I even knew, but it was beyond me for many various reasons. So after I have left Steam Power, I decided to continue on that, but I decided to focus on quote-unquote quality, or making sure that, one, the innovation is like really innovation. Yes, it could be simple, but like, we have to make sure that this innovation can go far, but at the same time, we have to create value for that. And how can we, I don't know, for those of you who know Ethiopia by now, there are plenty of consulting and training firms, but it's kind of one size fits all. And then many startups that I have followed for the last 3 years didn't survive. About, this is just a wild guess, about like 7% of them, they lasted for 1.5 years. Even those who lasted 1.5 years had a backup even before they joined our program. So we were trying to see like what is missing. So what we focus on, how we are trying to build this talent and making sure that it is creating a future for the youth, for women, for those different players in this area. So one area is like we work with them on their strategy, on their business plan. Realistically, there is one size fits all. ChatGPT could produce a business plan in this day and time, but like the reality of Ethiopia, the reality of the remote areas completely different from Addis. So we wanted to support and create for them like practical, something they can really relate to, but also can implement wherever they are, kind of a strategy and a business model. On the other hand, we say training for lack of better terms, but we try to coach them and give them a skill. Most of our trainings, almost all, are project-based, meaning like we give them something to do so that they are able to replicate and do that again. And more importantly, we focus on technology. Digital skills from basic email writing all the way, as much as they need it. We try to give them and train them, but for levels that are beyond us. We're not a technology company per se. We bring other partners. So we wanted to show them like you cannot avoid technology. It's the present and the future, and that's the way to scale and sustain. So on both sides, we try to give catered training and coaching. So by doing that, I know usually when we talk about startups, we're thinking like big investments outside Ethiopia and so on and so forth. But like even within Ethiopia, I can give one example. This was like 2+ years or 3 years back. It's in a remote area here in Ethiopia. We started a STEM center and we went there to inaugurate. But the STEM center has been there for, I believe, 9 months or so. So we have to showcase some innovations. There was this girl, if I'm not mistaken, she was in high school. Most Ethiopians could relate to this story. What she innovated was like very practical, something that we can use today and very, very cheap and easily scalable. That was the kind of inspiration that brought me to start this organization. What she created was like, you know, this USAID funded yellow jerry can that you see everywhere. Women use that to fetch water. So because they use that every day, and there is no mechanism, there is no way to clean like deep inside, it has this some dust, dirty thing that you see, and that causes like so many diarrhea and cholera and so on and so forth. So she just used Arduino, and then she just used a mop to extend it, and then she used battery power to clean inside this jerry can. It might sound and look silly, but that is what's going to change a lot of lives, from diarrhea and cholera and so on and so forth. And she, being a girl, I'm sure she helps her parents at home. She also made it in a way like that you can make it really long to clean the ceiling and everything. So those kind of innovations, I did the math by then. It would have been like $10 maximum. And then look at the market in Ethiopia for that. Ethiopia is like 120 million right now, and by 2030 we are estimated to be like 150, right? Look at the market for this in rural Ethiopia. So those kind of simple innovations that can change lives, that is one target. The second target is like those who started a startup, take startups, but are not going anywhere. We wanted to support that program. So this is how we are trying to tap the talents.
Thanks so much for bringing, talking about, even community-based rural innovation and how that, and I like the point of, telling the story of the girl child in high schools, because sometimes we feel innovators, sometimes should always have a bachelor's degree, a master's, a PhD, but also, thinking of, what our high school children can also do is kind of very important. So for us to close, I would just, want to gain, and it will be from everybody. What is that one thing you feel would really enable innovation in Africa? And how can we leverage platforms like the Global Startup Awards to drive this? So I'm going to give you 15 seconds, but I know you might extend to 30 seconds. But, tell me, how can we really drive innovation in its real sense and use platforms like the Global Startup Awards to drive that innovation, especially for children, young adolescents, young people, and of course, even women. So let me start from Catherine, and then we go this way.
So interesting, there was initially thought of as doing a youth focus for this panel. And so I've luckily been exposed to some of the UNICEF reports, and I would say accessing the remarkable work that is available on the amplified voices of the youth. I learned so much in just being exposed to some of the collated information that has centered young adults, children's voices. I think innovation is going to lack a huge amount of actual wisdom if it is dislocated from the voices of people who are living right now and who are perceiving the world differently. I actually WhatsApped my son, he's 21, and I said, "Hey Matt, I'm going to be talking about youth and innovation. What should I say?"
That's a nice one.
And he said, "Mom, you should tell them that they should listen to young people because they have some really good ideas about how to solve problems."
That's amazing.
And what is even more amazing is that that quote is also in the UNICEF report around the use of technology. So yeah, I'm challenging myself. How are the voices of youth, young nurses, young service and health consumers? How are the youth and teenagers who are perfectly capable of accessing health services going to access our platform? Can they ask for a nurse to come to their house? Can they access family planning from us? So very challenging to think about the voices of the youth and what they need.
Listen to the African youth.
Absolutely.
So that is the one message from Catherine.
Absolutely.
Listen to African youths and listen to the youth.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Pleasure.
Okay? Someone wanted to clap. Feel free to clap, please. We should not be, our clapping is important, okay? Thank you.
So 15 seconds, right?
15 seconds.
So what I would say is I think we need to map an ecosystem. Everything is everywhere. Everybody is doing everything. Training, tech startups. I learned about this through a friend and also through LinkedIn, but it was here since last year. But we need an ecosystem like academia, government, private sector, NGOs. we need to map it, we need to know what fits in where so that there's no duplication of efforts, but also to make ourselves like go further more than where we are going right now.
Thank you so much. The ecosystem is very key, and I think we can learn a lot from each other. We can glean from best practices. We can learn from the academia, from the private sector, from NGOs, and that's a really cool point. Thanks so much for that. What about you,
I'll
Falake?
take it from the public sector perspective. Whenever a government wants to, build up a new industry, they tend to implement both like protectionist measures as well as incentivizing measures. And I think, platforms like this are an example of those incentives. So, a big kudos to the government of Ethiopia for supporting this and bringing
Let's
this
clap for the
here.
government of Ethiopia.
Yeah, let's go. But I think there's a need for a lot more of that, because that really does create the environment that makes it easier for people to take risks and put their innovations out there. In Nigeria, we say this thing about, sometimes the government will take your idea, and go and implement it. I think we need to move away from that mentality, let the government be the enabler of those innovations.
Absolutely, and I believe government is one of the biggest and strongest enablers of innovation anywhere in the world. It's governments, driving it and pushing that. Thank you so much for that point, Falake. And Admal?
I believe, which means as an African entrepreneur, we African entrepreneurs have the exposure to talk a lot of entrepreneurs around the world, which is, as an African, we need to build or tweak our business model. Our business model has to be on circular business model. Circular business model, which is closing all the loops, not build something, disturbing something. It has to be circular. It has to be close the loops. Maybe not only by one company, create the collaboration and close the loops. So most of it can be created tech company or some hardware company, a moonshot or something, wherever it is. But you have to consider, just start small, do something about it, and it has to be scalable for the international level, to be ready for to involve, ready to be everyone in that business model, in that company, in that entity as well. So what I just learned is build something that's circular and do things for the good things for the community, give back for the community. Just do what you are committed for if you are committed for the climate, stay committed for the climate. If you are committed for the social impact, stay on that. So, and do the major, the business has to be started from the starting, researching how to close the loops and do what we have for the next
Thank you so much. I think, closing on that note, basically is about thinking of our business models, what is fit for purpose, and of course making sure that, we think of the circular economy in whatever we're doing, making sure that what we are producing also adds value within the chain. Thank you so much for this time. Just to say a big thank you to my distinguished panelists, and just also to give a shout out also to UNICEF Ethiopia, country office Ethiopia, for making this possible, and also collaborating with Global Startup Awards on this important one. But most importantly, remember to put children, adolescents, young people, and women at the center of your innovation. Thank you so much. Thank you.